Hello, friends. It's me, Sam, and I'm coming at you at the top of the episode for the first time in a while. I haven't done these in a little bit now that I'm realizing. Good to hear. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. I just wanted to come up at the front and let you guys know. So, we had a little bit of a technical snafu during our recording process of this episode, and so what you're going to find is that Chris is going to sound a little echoey. He's going to kind of sound a little bit voice of God, which is kind of cool, honestly, because he almost is. He's our voice of God, our sweet fashion boy, Mr. 8 out of 10 himself. So he's going to sound a little echoey. He's still understandable. It's not too bad. But it was kind of caught after we were able to do anything about it, short of just having him ADR 2 hours worth of audio. So instead of doing that, we're just going to kind of present it to you as is and apologize up front. Hope you please can forgive us. We love you. And yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. You're going to hear me say this at the top of the episode as well, but we are also still looking for submissions, constantly looking for submissions about Death Stranding for our outer op that is going to be coming next week. Please email us at contact@metalgearmondays.com if you would like to have your thoughts read on the air. And that is it for me today. Enjoy the episode. That's what I wanted to say. I was trying to think of some complicated thing, and that was all I needed to say. Enjoy the episode. Bye. Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome to Metal Gear Mondays, the most thorough Kojima-themed podcast on the internet. I am your host, Sam Wright, and I am here today to tell you that we're finally wrapping up our coverage of Death Stranding today. Isn't that exciting? We put in the time, we talked about the things and the chapters and the gameplay and the themes and the stuff, and we've got 2 more chapters left, baby, and they're something. So we're going to talk about them. But I can't do it by myself. Of course, I'm joined this week by Mr. Cole Duncan.
Also known as End of the Game Man. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, dude. I'm really good. I'm feeling positive and strong.
I'm proud of you.
And ready to fucking take on the world, man.
Man, same. Absolutely same.
Go off, King.
I'm going to try to.
I'm also joined this week by Mr. Zach James.
I've actually recently had my name changed. I'm now Zach America MacGuffin Strand Bridges Porter Cryptic Metaphor.
How was that process for you? How did that go?
My God. I'm just glad I don't have to take the SATs anymore.
Big headache, huh?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you score on the SATs?
I don't want to talk about it.
8.
No! 9.
It's physically impossible to score an 8 on the SATs.
Somehow or another, we did it, though.
Guys, shut up. I scored a 9. I studied for like 3 years.
Also, joined this week by Mr. Chris Hampton.
Mr. 8 out of 10 man.
Mr. 8 out of 10 man. Mr. Get Me the Tin Man, 8 out of 10 man.
You know, that sounds kind of like an erotic Wizard of Oz thing.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
As presented by Betty White.
What?
Don't you dare go after that queen like that.
Well,
How dare you?
What goes on in your head, Zach?
All right, I didn't make a Family Guy reference last week. I'm trying to make up for it.
Just
no,
all
that's
of
fair.
them. Well, we made up for it with all the SpongeBob references. So it's okay.
That is true. That is true.
It's very true. I hope you guys enjoyed the SpongeBob references. Ladies and gentlemen, the 4 of us, we're here, we're back, and we're going to finish talking about Death Stranding. Just shortly, I just want to just to set out a little reminder for you guys. We are doing an outer op on this video game, meaning that we're going to talk about topics that you guys are suggesting on patreon.com/MetalGearMondays. You can join there and suggest topics for the outer op. We're also going to be doing our special Secret Santa gift exchange for the bros on the podcast on that episode, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And also, we're going to be reading your thoughts on Death Stranding. So if you played it, you have opinions, you have thoughts, you have additional theories based on everything that you've seen, anything that you want to talk about with Death Stranding, email it to us. We're going to talk about it on the show. Contact at metalgearmondays.com. Check it out and be part of that conversation. We want to read your stuff live. So not live. You know what I mean.
Send it in. Send it in. Just talk.
Send it in. Send it in. We're going to read your thoughts on the air. So we want to do that. Contact at metalgearmondays.com.
Not .net. Not .org.
Not .net.
Not .net.
.org.
Not .fm.
And definitely not .edu because, I mean, obviously.
We're super uneducated.
What about .biz?
Speak for yourself, Sam.
Oh, calm down, Narc.
Anyway.
I didn't go to beauty college for nothing, Cole.
Jesus Christ. So we have 2 more episodes left in this calendar year of 2019. We're going to have, after this, we have the Outer Op, and then we have a very special episode that's going to come out right after the Outer Op that you guys are going to be super stoked to listen to, I can imagine. So please stay tuned for that. We're going to be taking, like we kind of mentioned it before, but I wanted to bring it up at the top of the show, is that we personally are going to be taking a brief holiday hiatus. Shouldn't be more than a couple weeks for you guys because we're kind of like backloading the podcast a little bit, but we are going to take some much needed break and get back in the year 2020 to continue the podcast goodness for you. So just stay tuned. Like I said, we got Outer Op and a very, very special episode coming for you right after that. So that's some good things happening in the pipeline, and I guess I've rambled long enough. Gentlemen, are there any objections to jumping in to episode 13?
Not for me.
I need unanimous.
I make a motion that we
What's the
move
motion?
forward
Okay.
with the story. Picking up with the big whale.
Oh, yes,
whale.
the big whale.
The big
Zachary
whale.
James, Strand, America Bridges. What do you think?
MacGuffin
Metaphor.
cryptic metaphor.
Cryptic metaphor. I'm sorry. I apologize. You ready to go?
I concur. We must push further
indeed.
eastward.
Further eastward. Allow us to continue onward into episode 13.
Onward!
I love how we just bastardized the parliamentary process here.
Pretty much.
Sure
Pretty
did.
much. That's what we do.
We do here on this podcast. That's what we do. All right. So, episode 13, where we last left off, we beat a big whale. We were very frustrated about it. And then we are bringing these cryptobites to Fragile in this hospital. And she's in a bad way. She's in a coma, apparently. And we got to help her out. And then I think maybe... So a lot of... towards this back half of the game, a lot of very good things happen, right? That we're very entertained by.
Yeah.
And I think low-key, what happens when Sam walks into the hospital room, maybe one of the funniest things that's happened in this game. Because Sam walks into the hospital room and Lochner runs up and tries to hug him, and he fucking step-ons her. Poor girl. She's just so excited to see him.
No. We're good. We're good here. Thank you, though.
You know, we've gone so far, but Sam just can't overcome his phosphobia.
Cannot. But yeah, so he, Dead Man is really excited to see Sam and says the whole team is together. And he kind of, again, repeats that, you know, traveling to the beaches in such a short time did a lot of bad things to Fragile. And that chiral matter filled up her cells and basically kind of like rocked her whole deal up. And that she's not really in danger, but she needs a lot of rest. And apparently, and I'm trying to think, and I could be wrong here. I think I'm like, did I miss something? But Die-Hardman was just found outside the isolation ward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Was
was. Kind of
Did
like,
I miss a beat somewhere?
So
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it is explained later what happened.
Okay. I may have missed that because when I was like,
Yeah.
because you have to keep in mind here when I was playing this, like I was just coming off of like coming back to the game after that like severe piss off game over that I got,
Oh yeah.
and I felt like I must have missed like a call or something that I just didn't get, and cool. So, didn't miss anything. Good to know. But yeah, so Die-Hardman was apparently found outside the isolation ward, and he's being looked after in another room. And another favorite thing is that Fragile's supposed to be in a coma, but Sam kind of like waggles a kryptonite in front of her nose.
Dude,
Like
this
some,
was
like-
lame.
Yeah, it's like a smelling salt or something like that.
It completely took the urgency away from it.
Right.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, were you faking it? Like, were you just sleeping, girl? Like, what were you doing? It's a real long nap. Like, that's okay.
Like, even if they had just had him shown up and then just done a fade to black and then fade back into another cutscene, and you don't have to give us 2 weeks later or whatever, but just give us some kind of break in time as opposed to, oh, you're here and now she's miraculously all better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she wakes up and she eats the kryptonite, and they have this it's honestly kind of sweet. They have this reconcile moment because they left on bad terms on Amelie's beach. But they kind of have this cute little moment where she's like, "Oh, I guess you needed me after all," and she says that we need to fucking go, and Deadman's like, "No, it's not fair to you or Sam or whatever to do this in your condition." And then Heartman jumps in, and he says that he's been searching for Amelie's beach on his own, and realizes that Amelie's beach kind of exists on this weird high plane that he can't reach. And he kind of explains the science of a circulatory system where everybody's individual beach is a capillary, but that Amelie's is the heart that controls everything. And then the power kind of goes out and comes back on, and says that Sam can go against the flow and reach her, but if she doesn't want to let him go, she can just keep him there. So if he goes, he runs the risk of never coming back.
Which once again, really on the nose there with Kojima with the whole Heartman making a heart reference here.
Mm-hmm.
Just
very
throwing that out there.
Yeah. It is very on the nose. But again, I think and I don't know, maybe it's just me being conditioned, but I feel the on the nose nature of a lot of these references has just kind of I've gotten used to it, and so it doesn't bother me anymore.
No, but in the spirit of being fully just
a critique
just fully open to this game, kind of on the nose.
Yeah, very much so.
I think that's Kojima's calling card.
I mean,
being on the nose.
I mean, I agree, but
Every single one of these characters kind of wears their role on their sleeve, so it's really obvious why they're doing what they're doing and what they're supposed to be representing.
Sure, understand that.
Well, because I think that when we were running up to the game before it came out, we were talking about the characters, and we were just there has to be more to these names than what it is, but it wasn't. Die-Hardman is a die-hard man, and Deadman is, he's made up of dead things, so he's a dead man, and Mama is a mama, and Heartman, his heart sucks.
You know what it is? These
What?
are the fucking placeholder names that Kojima had as these are the characters, they just fucking I'll come up with the names later. And then he was he's I finally came up with the names. They're the game shipped yesterday.
I was oh no. Yeah, so Fragile kind of notes here that Amelie didn't get out on her own, and she was forced out by Amelie, and she says that her final wish, she thinks, is Amelie wants Sam to go to her. And they kind of mentioned in order to stop this last stranding, Sam has to go to the beach and either talk her out of it or kill her, essentially. And that if he kills her, he'll be trapped there forever. and Fragile is kind of like, "Are you ready to go?" And Sam takes Lou off and says he'll talk to her, but with the way the world kind of is, it'll only be delaying the inevitable for another 10,000 years tops. Like,
Was it 10 or 100? It was something like that.
It might have been 100.
The humanity's only got a couple 100,000 million billion years left.
Billions and billions of years.
And yeah, Sam.
The world's only got 5,000, 2,500, 600 minutes left.
Oh my god. No. Damn it.
Listen, I stand a fucking Rent reference. You can shut your goddamn mouth, Cole. I'll fucking sing it. Don't make me fucking
Do it,
sing
Sam.
Sing it. Do it.
525,600 minutes. 525,000 moments so dear. Okay.
It's beautiful, actually. That's actually beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Sam, cue in some golf clap here.
I'm not going to do it.
It's for you!
I know, but I don't want it because it's more work. But yeah, so Sam kind of gives this like speech a little bit about how the world won't last forever, but they have to do what they can to kind of keep it running, so that he says, so that we can say that we had a good run and live, and say that we lived. And Fragile is like, "I thought you didn't like handling things with care." And Sam goes, he said, "It was hard enough keeping my own shit together. But when we met, the only thing that I cared about was making it to the next sunrise," and that he was just broken and not in a good way. But then he started meeting people and changing, and it made him think that the world wasn't all that bad, and that he has to keep going because people have put their faith in him to kind of deliver tomorrow. Dead Man kind of is like, "Does that mean like even if you never come back?" And Sam goes, "Look, I'm fucked if I don't, and I'm fucked if I do, so I'm just gonna do it."
I just got the mental image of like a B-roll of this where Sam's giving a speech, and then Fragile's like, "I thought you didn't like handling things with care." He's like, "Bitch, I'm giving a speech. Shut up."
That's pretty. Yeah, that's just about right.
So he handles it much more gracefully than that.
Yeah, probably. It's a little bit more couth. I think a little bit.
5% more at the most.
5%, only 5% more couth. But yeah, he hands Lou to Dead Man. He's like, "Look, I couldn't find a working still mother to the east of Port Knot, but kid's done enough." And the two, then Fragile kind of takes him, and they kind of cry together, and she sends him away. And then you kind of get to the beach, and you're in a really weird angle, and you see Amelie kind of walking up to him, and Amelie kind of holds him, like picks him up, and he kind of fades out, and you hear a baby crying, and now Sam's a baby, so that's fun.
Kind of weird, right?
Kind of weird. And Amelie is kind of like, "Hey, do you want to go home? I know the way." And then she kind of drops. What? Oh, shut up. My brain connected what you just said. Stop.
Spit on the Princess Beach.
Oh my god. Do you know the way? So she kind of puts Sam in the water, and as Sam is sinking, you see this little baby hand reach out, and then you see the title card, which is episode 13, Sam Strand.
Oh, I tell you what, this episode, man.
Yeah,
was not a
absolutely.
Tell me about the episode.
So first thing about this episode is that it is Order 69. Nice. So that's pretty cool. Sam kind of wakes up, and he's an adult on the beach, and the ocean is blood red, which is wild, and you can kind of see what looks like a planet in the distance, and legitimately you just kind of have to run around for a little bit, and after a minute Sam starts resting, and he hears Amelie singing London Bridge again. A lot happens here.
Oh yeah.
and this is such like a bipolar, like let's just kind of like run down kind of what happens. So, you kind of hear Amelie, and she has this like strange voice, and she's holding a gun, and she's wearing her gray dress, the weird gray one. And she kind of tells Sam that the last stranding's already begun, and Sam kind of asks what's wrong with her voice. And she kind of tells him, she says, you still don't know who I am. And she kind of turns around, and now she's wearing the Kipu and Die-Hardman's mask. And she kind of says, and to clarify here, and Zach, you probably remember this the hardest out of all of us because you had some pain, but
I had a lot of pain.
This, like, he's sitting on the ground and she is walking around him. You're controlling the camera at this point, right?
Yes.
Or is that in a little bit? So this whole scene is taking place in real time. Like, it's not a cut scene. You're like, it's live happening in front of you, right? Like, you're technically controlling Sam. You're controlling the camera as Amelie kind of like walks around you and monologues a lot. And behind Sam, you see this like, you see Bridget in a hospital bed behind him, and Bridget kind of grabs him, and now she's wearing the mask, and then says to listen to her, and kind of falls off the bed, and that mirrors what happens to him and her in the prologue. And then she takes off the mask, and the camera kind of pans around, and now you see Amelie in white, and then she says she'll be waiting for him on the beach, and passes out, and she disappears. And then the gray dress Amelie in the mask says that she's been, she's like, you were supposed to stop me, and she takes off the mask, and Sam asks her if she's Bridget, and she says yes, and he asks where Amelie is, and she tells him that Amelie doesn't exist, and says that she's had to wear a mask for so long, and she claims that Amelie and Bridget are both a part of her, and Sam asks what that's supposed to mean, and she just tells him to like be quiet, which seems to be a theme. Lots of people ignoring Sam's questions and moving on to different topics and shushing him and whatever, which is rude.
It's very non sequitur, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. But yeah, she tells him to like just there's no time for questions, just listen. And she kind of explains that like she's the extinction entity. Amelie and Bridget are just names, and she kind of tells him that he has two choices. And she kind of points a gun at him, and she says, "Look, Sam." Sam goes, "If getting shot is one of those choices, yes, sir." And she goes, "Look, you wouldn't come back if I killed you here, but killing you would be a terrible mistake." And she lowers the gun and tells him, "Look, the last stranding has already begun, and that the beach is created the seam, and all the other beaches are in there, and eventually it would get filled up with antimatter and be consumed by a big bang." And his choices are to do nothing and witness the end. And she kind of like pleads with him to make that choice. But then she also says that after expanding the network and bringing people together, he bound them to her beach, where she's opened the gates to the other side. And she says that if he cuts her and her beach loose, he might be able to stop it from spreading and prevent the last stranding. And Sam's kind of like, "Look, it doesn't have to end here." And she says that the beach is doomed no matter what, and that's why they have to sever their connection. And Sam asks if that's going to be the end of the Death Stranding, and she says that he can't stop the inevitable, and that the extinction will still happen one way or the other, and that he could end it in dignity or struggle in vain. And then says those are his choices, and hands him the gun. And then she sees his dream catcher, and she's kind of surprised that he's kept it all this time, and then says that perhaps he has a chance to stop this nightmare, and then says that he brought the world together, so he gets to decide whether he pulls the rope or cuts the noose. So she tells him to make the choice, and says, he says he doesn't know what to do. And she's walking towards the water, and she calls back at him. She says that he does know what to do, and after everything, how could he not? And so after this fucking bipolar scene, like, she flips hard.
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
It's just very scary. Like, it's just like, she's like, "Oh, the world's going to end. There's nothing you can do. Oh, you might be able to stop it, but it's going to end," and everything. Like, dude, fucking what?
I legit had no idea what to do in the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot, because now you're in control of Sam and you have this gun, right?
Yep.
And she's walking into the water, and yeah, you have to kind of like figure out what to do. I had no fucking idea. Like, there's there's no instruction, there's no email, there's nothing to kind of guide you into like doing anything here.
Did anyone else empty their entire like cylinder into
Hell yes, I
Amelie?
did immediately.
Okay, cool. I'm just making sure that I'm not the bad guy here.
3 times.
Oh, immediately. You said 5 times?
3 times before I eventually had to look up what the fuck did they do.
I got it right the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Tell me
Yeah.
how you managed that.
I had to look it
Because
up.
it was like, the answer was kind of like there. Like, I don't know what to do. Amelie is talking to you, the player, and it's like, after all this time, how could you not? Like, the game is about tying knots in the strand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that it's like very anti is like guns, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are guns in the game, but it's like, these guns are only used against like BTs and things like that, and it strongly discourages you from killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, ditch the gun.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but then did you figure out that you had to? Okay. So what you have to do here is not shoot her and then like run up to her and hug her.
Yeah, you have to follow her down
Mm-hmm.
to the water.
You have to deselect the gun though before you can get
Yeah,
the
you do.
prompt.
Yeah. So, let me kind of explain what happens if you don't do this right. Because if she gets far enough, a scene will kind of play and she'll turn around and she'll just start crying blood. And then she'll float up into the air and then everything will explode. And the game asks you if you want to connect again. And there's only a yes. And then it kind of like spits you back out on the beach right before you have the option to like shoot or not. I decided to like, okay, I'm just going to put the gun away and just like watch her. And the same thing happened. And then I just kind of like started like running around her and like whooping and like being a dumbass. And then I saw a prompt flash in front of her. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck's that? And it was a hug prompt. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, I full well had to like look this up. I had no idea what to do.
I'm usually super anti looking things up if I can help it. So
I am too. This is the one time in this game that I was like, I have no idea what the fuck I am supposed to do. No,
Yeah.
the bullets don't work. Standing here doesn't work. I don't know what the fuck to do.
I think it is super unintuitive,
mm-hmm.
for sure. You really can't think about it like you would think about solving a puzzle in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like one of those her code's on the back of the box moments, you know?
I was just about to say,
It's-
it is very like Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
like
Yeah.
you really
That's
need
what
to
I
pay
love about
attention.
this game. It's like there's so many of these Metal Gear Solid moments. They're just fantastic, you know?
Yeah.
And
This
this
is
is
one
like
of
one
them.
of them. This is the back of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Riddle.
Absolutely.
Be the rope and not the stick.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very intelligent. Like, it's very, like, an intelligent thing. Like, I should have thought about it. Like, this is me admitting, like, okay, this first part is on me. Because, again, you're right, Chris, is that the game is very much anti-gun. Like, I very, like, except for the cliff parts, like, and, like, the combat parts, like, with actual, like, BTs, never used weapons. So, like, it's very much, like, telling you to like chill out the entire game, and I think that's a smart like thing to do right at the end, kind of like tie all that together. I think I just wish it wasn't so like, okay, now what? But that might be me wanting it to be just too easy, you know, baby game almost. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong here, but you know, that's just me personally.
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess, like, I'm so conditioned to, like, games, like, giving me a prompt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, her handing me the gun.
Mm-hmm.
That I just thought, just intuitively, like, yo, no, I'm supposed to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to end it. This is what I'm supposed to do. She is the big bad guy. Holy shit, I just admitted it.
This is This is one of those examples of what I said last episode about how
Wait, Zach. This is a big moment because Cole just admitted it.
Oh
He just
yeah,
admitted it.
I knew that moment was coming for a while.
He just admitted it.
No, there was a slot panel in this.
Yeah.
There
Now Cole,
There
we,
was.
we kind of discussed this a little like yesterday,
We did, yes.
but I want to.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
So we discussed that we weren't entirely sure if Amelie was the bad guy or like not a bad guy.
Yeah.
And so we had discussed potentially doing like a double slap situation.
I am okay with the double slap. You know,
I am too, but you
at the
just
like
said,
like old man snake, old man liquid
Rocky
slap.
2 ending.
Yeah, Rocky 2 ending, but I mean, like talking about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a admission that Bridget's. Well, we don't know this yet.
No.
Sorry. Just go ahead and cut this out.
I feel like there's so much stuff here to unpack, and it's basically like you're watching a movie from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's
Well,
really not a lot of gameplay. So,
Oh no, there's
What
plenty
we're-
of gameplay.
what we're seeing here is that Amelie is, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the character and to the NPCs that we've grown to know, is in D&D terms, the BBEG, the big bad evil guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like she is. She is the one who is going to, usher in this great new Death Stranding, this final extinction.
yeah, but she wants to stop it.
But she wants to stop it.
Yeah,
But it is her like prime directive.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because
Two.
like the thing of it is like she wants to stop it, but it's still going to happen.
Right. It's like the whole it's like the theory of like entropy, you know? Like no matter entropy itself is not evil.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. It will just happen.
yeah.
It doesn't make the heat death of the universe evil. It will happen. It just is. It's neutral. It's true neutral. If you were designing a D&D chart around this in a weird way, and feel free to debate me on this one here, Amelie is right there in the middle. She is true neutral.
I don't know that it's so neatly packed into this metaphor.
Okay.
Cool. You brought us a metaphor, but I don't know that I want to accept it. I think this is
Fuck you.
this,
I love you, but fuck you.
yeah. I think what this story is trying to do here is get really philosophical with this whole view of like nature over nurture, right?
Okay.
So it is Amelie / Bridget's nature as an extinction entity to bring about the Death Stranding, right?
Sure.
But it is the nurture, like who Bridget / Amelie is as a person that wants to like find a way to prevent this from happening.
Now, really quick before we continue on, Zach, how are you feeling at this point? Because you were going to bring something up.
Oh, I was gonna say how the whole like, whether you could shoot her or whether you can let her bring about the extinction or not is just another example of what I brought up last episode about this game giving you the illusion of choice when really you don't have one.
Yeah.
If there's any point to pick up on or pick back up on, I think it's that, honestly.
I agree.
Just because that he's not wrong at all.
Mm-hmm. Like there's only one option. And like,
there is only one option, but like you feel like you. I'll save this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we hit the hug button, and Sam kind of grabs Amelie and he hugs her, and he says that he's here for her always, like she was for him. And then they kind of flash back to Sam as a baby crying on the beach, and baby Sam, child Sam, not baby Sam, but child Sam,
Potato Sam.
crying that is potato Sam. Yes, that he doesn't want to go home again. And then she gives him the dream catcher at this point and says that he will need it when he grows up to make the world whole again, and that he'll need it to stop her. And then she tells him to promise he'll remember, and then it flashes forward to them hugging again, and Sam says that he remembers. And he says that she always knew, and then she says that she did, and he didn't. There's a lot of like weird crosstalk here. And she says that she had so many dreams of the future that she didn't know which ones to trust, which is why she shared them with him and the others. But to kind of make sense of it, everything, they needed time and perspective. And then she says that time has no meaning to her and that she's not a line but a single point, and says it's why she could only show him the choices and let him decide what he was going to do. And he realizes that her nightmare are the dreams that he has. And she says that he found the strand that links them together, and that he did it by living his life one day at a time, and thanks him and lets go of the hug. And she takes the gun and says it won't help him here, but it still has a role to play, which keep that in mind. And then she says that the bonds between people brought the world together, and that if this is what matters most to him, she's going to stay on the beach and shut herself in and the rest of the world out. And says that, look, the last standing can't be stopped, and all she can kind of do is spare them the worst. And he asks her why. She says that she is the beach, and that she has to stay and make sure the extinction happens no matter how long it takes. He asks her if she'll do it alone. She says that's what an EE does. And if she'd done her job, none of this would have happened, but she got tired of waiting, and that thought that no one would blame her if she got it all over with, and that he and the others came together and connected. And she said that they may be living on borrowed time, but they still have hope.
Yeah.
And then she kind of explains, look, life before each of the big five rebelled and fought back, and they evolved to survive, and that extinction isn't an ending, but it's an opportunity. And then if she has to be the sacrifice for that, then so be it. And then she hugs Sam again and says, even if they aren't together, they'll always be connected. And then she kind of forces Sam out of the beach, and he wakes up, and he's gray colored on a different beach, and he's next to a baby doll with that photo, the family photo. And then he kind of pushes the doll into the ocean and picks up the gun that's next to him. And here's where rubber meets the road on some yeah.
I hate this whole part. I do.
Before we go into this, Zach, you had a point about, like, right before we even got into this area.
Yeah. So what I was saying before is that, because she gives you the gun and she's like, you could shoot me or you can let it happen. The choice is yours. And then, like we talked about, a bunch of us tried to shoot her. Then we waited to see what happened, and she went off as the extinction entity, and then it turns out that you just have to holster and hug it, and that's your only choice. And this goes back to what I was saying in the previous episode, where this game has moments where it gives you the illusion of choice, but that's just it. It's just an illusion, and there is really only one thing to do. Right. And just me personally, I'm not a fan of that.
So it's a similar situation to when you had that you had with Mama.
What do you mean?
I mean, like the illusion of choice.
What are you trying to insinuate here?
Like the illusion of choice, like this is a little bit more heavy-handed in the sense where it's like you could just not push the button. I mean, literally,
you could just turn the game off if you want.
You could just turn the game off. You could just not sever this like BT this little baby from its mother.
I think so.
Oh, I see what you mean.
What if that
But like,
would have been the way? Like you had to actually turn the game console off.
I mean, that's not far-fetched. This is a Hideo Kojima game.
That would have been so cool. Mr. Kojima, if you're listening to this podcast, you can use that idea.
Yeah. No, I give you full reign of my stupid brain.
Next
please.
That would that'd be pretty ballsy then. Or I was also thinking it would have been ballsy if, like, after she fucking, caused the extinction, if there was a no option, and then like you click that and the credits started rolling.
I mean, like that's an extreme example of like the illusion of choice in this game. But like, I guess a more realistic example would be when you're delivering the bomb. Like, you have a choice with that bomb. Like, you could do any number of things with that bomb. You could leave it and it will explode. You could deliver it and it will explode.
But no matter what, unless you go and you toss it into the tar lake, the game will not progress. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And it's not that I'm saying that the game is conditioning you for that, but it is a really kind of cool thing that it does that. And I usually don't say that about games that present the illusion of choice. But I do really like what it's doing here.
I feel that.
You know what I don't really like?
What's that, Zach?
The rest of fucking chapter 13.
Oh, you didn't like it, but this is pretty.
All right. Well,
pretty much everything explained.
okay. I like the explanations. I don't like having to wait 5 to 7 minutes between each fucking explanation. Just running around the sandbox while the beginning of the first of multiple credit sequences roll.
I'm with him on this one. For once, me and Zach James agree on something.
Yeah, I am also aligned with these boys. I think it's one thing. It's the explanation. Like, again, this is like exposition and explanation, and that's kind of what we've been asking for, right? But like, you put so much like filler in between each section. Like each section, like she talks and she walks, and you have to run around and just kind of wait until like Sam gets tired and sits down, and then you can control the camera and see what's going on around you. But it's just like talking at you, and it'd be so much better if it was just a fucking cutscene. Because like, I don't know if you were trying to give us the illusion that we're still playing the game at this point or what, but it just feels kind of like ugh.
I mean, I assume the implication is that this is Sam's beach.
Yeah,
and this is the kind of like loneliness, this to really just fucking nail that hammer or hammer that nail on its head. This is the kind of stranding that Death Stranding has been talked about. You are alone. You're alone. You're so alone. Like,
no, you're being held hostage by Kojima.
I mean, yes, in one sense, but
Chris is not having this.
Yeah.
But no, but I mean, like, think. But I mean, think about it. Like, you're alone. Even though like Amelie shows up, we don't even know at this moment, even at this moment, this late in the game, that she's real.
Well, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I think the execution for this chapter was severely flawed.
I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, I mean, like, I can appreciate like the artistic endeavor that he took here.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, you don't have a problem with the story. It's just that you had to play it out at the end.
But you didn't play it out. You just ran around until Sam decided to sit down, and then the game talked at you for 5 minutes.
But is that not part of the story, though? I think is what Chris is getting at.
Yeah. I think that's like part of the whole experience and the message of the game.
That's all well and good. I'm still not a fan of it.
That's fine.
It felt exhausting to me. Like,
it did. It was mentally taxing.
not in a way like in a different way than like the whale boss felt exhausting. Like it just felt exhausting. I'm just like, I kind of just like, I just want to know the things.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
and,
I get that, but like, what if that was the point? And like,
I mean, I think Cole, I'm going to tell you, I think it's a shitty point.
I get that. And you know what? Look, I am not trying to be like the big Kojima fanboy. I think I've obviously proved that on this podcast, that I'm full well of giving, criticism to Kojima where criticism is due.
Yeah, of course.
But what if that was the point? Was to exhaust you?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I think it was the point. I'm saying it's a bad point. There's like the thing of it is like we've already done all this exhausting shit. We're already fucking tired. Why stop making us more tired, my dude? I get it.
To just nail the fucking point home.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, if it wasn't nailed home at this point, then what are you doing? But like it, like I don't know. It doesn't. I appreciate what it's doing. I don't appreciate what it's doing to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like
sure.
As humans, we don't feel like we don't appreciate having our time wasted, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what's happening here. And whether or not it's the point of what he's trying to do, like he's trying to do this and exhaust you and waste your time, that sucks.
Yeah,
that
no
sucks.
shit. Dying sucks. Being dead sucks. Being alone sucks.
Yeah.
I think that's the fucking point.
I know we're not disagreeing on that, Duncan. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, like the execution
was
kind of meets the meaning.
Yeah, I know. It's just.
I don't think. I disagree with you here. I don't think it's part of the meaning. I think it is the medium by which the meaning of the game is conveyed.
Should have picked a better way to convey it. That's all I'm saying. And I think that's what Zach's saying too.
I mean, that's fair.
That's fair. I mean, like I'm not trying to invalidate your opinion on it.
I'm not saying you are, but like I think.
No, I know.
I think what's happening here is we're talking in circles because we understand each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
We understand each other. It was the point. It was the point. We think it's a shitty point.
Like I also agree. It was exhausting and boring and just drab.
And I guess, and it also kind of ties into like Chris has been like driving this point too for like almost every of our episodes is like, I guess, like, is this a video game? Like a video game wouldn't do this to us, right? Like it wouldn't waste our time like this,
Or would it?
or most of them. Like most times, a video game's not going to make you fucking wander around for minutes on end while you wait to sit down and listen to like be like lectured about like something that's happening, right? Like normally a video game is not going to do that to you, but
So, let me take this point here and shift your perspective slightly.
okay.
A normal video game. What do you do in a normal video game? There's like people that you talk to, they tell you things, and it informs you of like the story,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have control.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big point of the video game is there's this input device, a controller, and you can move the character around and interact with the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So like these it's hitting all the check marks. Like yes, it is a video game in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
but to your point, it does waste your time like a video game would, or what was it you said?
I said like a video game wouldn't like waste your
Yeah.
time like this
But
typically.
they do. This is the whole point. Video games are a thing that we've invented to waste our time with.
Well, yeah, you know that's being a little obtuse. I think you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
Other
like
games
they're
at least
time
have you
wasted.
actively engaged.
Yeah,
yeah.
like
But I think the point is here to make you conscious about what you are spending your time doing. It's that moment, like when you if you've ever seen that meme of like the 3DS and when the screen turns black and you just see like the reflection of your face from like this really flattering angle, so you can see like all 4 of your chins, like your patchy neck beard or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have you know that I don't have a
reflection,
patchy
and
neck
it's
beard.
just like this.
And
It's
that's
just
why
like
I grew it, so I can
existential
hide my
moment of, like,
chins.
But I think it's like this existential, like, look into the void and the void looks back.
I agree with Chris, like 100%.
I don't know. I guess I just,
I mean,
It's
there are other games, like there are other like games that do this kind of thing and that do it well and that do it in the same kind of way.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like
something like Goat Simulator.
oh, like that. There's one example. The Stanley Parable. There are multiple endings that just are there to waste your time. Are they a real video game? Are you?
And that's why
really?
I don't go for those endings.
yeah, I don't play those games or those types of endings. Like,
But you did. You
I've
did.
never played the Stanley Parable for that exact reason, Nicole. Like I avoid shit like that because I don't.
I feel
like
that.
it.
Whenever
I don't
whenever
like
I
it.
decide to boot up Half-Life again, or Half-Life 2, I always skip the first chapters because I don't want to sit through that fucking on a rail section.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but you missed the boat part, don't you?
The boat, what?
I think we just have like a fundamental disagreement on like what is like, I don't know, like I just
This chapter could have been called fucking Artificial Padding, the chapter, and it would have
Well,
been apropos.
Gentlemen, I want to propose the primary difference here, and why we are having this kind of quasi-debate right now, is that I am a connoisseur of displeasure and unhappiness. And you guys don't enjoy displeasure and unhappiness.
no, not typically.
No, you're 100%
I
right on that
revel.
one.
I revel in that. I think it's the most interesting part of life.
I guess I enjoy being happy. I don't.
Shame on you.
Sad
It's
boys
like
club. Sad boys club united over here,
Like,
baby.
It's I mean, it's like that old like adage, like you can't understand good without understanding bad. You can't appreciate light without appreciating dark. I think that's what Chris is getting at.
yeah,
yes.
I suppose. I've had enough dark in my life. I'm tired of it.
And it's like duality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that Kojima even tells you that in the lore of this world. And there's the Hanukkah, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
The self on the beach and who we are physically.
Yeah.
Well, who I was physically
Yes.
was bored.
okay. I think we're moving on. I think we get it. We've talked a lot about this. I think we're
Yeah.
moving on.
Sure.
We can quit beating this horse. For
Yeah,
sure.
I think so. I think we've basically
Stop,
said.
it's already dead.
I think we've kind of said everything that we're going to say. I think what I'll say is like a cap on it is like I think, and maybe I won't speak for Zach on this, but I think the three of us appreciate what it is trying to do. At the very least, appreciate what it's trying to do.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
we'll
think it was a
leave at that.
goddamn waste of time, so.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Okay, we've all given our opinions.
Just reinforcing Sam's point.
That's what this podcast is for, isn't it?
Walking in circles.
Talking in Circles, the podcast, baby. It's like Talking Dead, except for
That was a perfect that conversation right there was a perfect microcosm of what this game is all about.
oh my god.
Kind of. Yeah.
So anyway,
We brought you a
we brought you a metaphor.
I'm still waiting on the
Amen.
metaphor.
Anyway, so you run around the beach. So he picks up the gun, you run around the beach, and while you're running around the beach, so this is what Zach was talking about, is like you see credits start to roll about the main from the main cast of the game. And then after a little bit, Sam will kind of like sit down, and then you'll get the next part of the cutscene. And so Amelie kind of appears behind Sam and says that he used to have bad dreams that he would cry about all the time when he was young, and like explains again like these dreams were actually mine, and that I dreamt of the beach even in my waking hours, and says she watched the world end so many times in her dreams and dreamed about past extinctions that wiped people out again and again, and she didn't understand it first. And then she said that she had more terrifying dreams of this massive extinction to come, like this one, and that she was always the one that would end it all. And then after that, another one, you run around, more credits, and then Sam will sit again. And then she tells Sam about her first operation when she was 20. And so we found out a couple chapters ago, well, in chapter 10, that Amelie had uterine cancer, right? Or Bridget had uterine cancer, and so she couldn't have kids. Bridget did. And so we found this out. And she says, when I was 20, I had my first operations, and when I opened my eyes, I found myself on the beach. And the moment I came around, I was back in the hospital bed. And in this moment, she kind of had been split across two worlds. Her Ha was Bridget in the living world, and her Ka was Amelie in this other world. And the two managed to kind of coexist, but then Bridget began to age in the real world while Amelie stayed the same age. And they kind of came up with the story that Amelie was her daughter with this debilitating condition and an absent father. And then this got me because I made a joke about this. I sent a video about this to Cole while we were having this like argument about theories about bad guy, good guy Amelie. And I sent this video to Cole that said, fucking Cole Duncan doesn't think I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Amelie, goddamn Amelie, more like Amelie, am I right, fucking bitch? And that was a joke. And then she says, she writes out the name Amelie in the air, and then she says, Ame is French for soul, but it was a soul that was a lie. Amelie. Fuck.
Yeah?
Cue the Seinfeld theme.
I can't believe this joke is the real ass reason why her name is Amelie. I was so mad.
Yeah, I had a real Larry David moment, like at exactly whenever she spelled it out. I was like, oh, sick.
Well, I thought it was going to be like a Tom Marvolo riddle thing where he rearranges the letters and it's I am Lord Voldemort, and it was some deeper meaning. And then I was like, okay, Ame means soul. Okay, then what does Ali or whatever the fuck mean? Oh no, it's the soul is a lie.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Yep.
Yeah.
So, actually, you know what? Cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. Anyway, but yeah, so this happened. That was fun. And she kind of mentions like there was no Amelie, only her and the beach, and she thought it was a curse, but then she thought, look, I can use this. And then tried learning about the beach and said that the beach could be the key to interpreting her visions. And then more standing, more running, more credits. Sit down again. Amelie had kind of realized the beach was connected to the world of the dead, meaning that somewhere beyond it was the memory of time itself, and that she wanted to create the chiral network to tap into that. That way they'd be unbound by the restriction of time. They can make simulations that would take years, effortless, and they kind of began research, but after a certain point, America saw its first void out. And Amelie realized that she was running out of time and tried to complete the network as quickly as possible, and that's when she started researching BBs. And she kind of wanted to figure out what caused an EE to come into existence and what caused the big five extinctions, and that if she could figure that out, she could stop the sixth one. And that's when she founded Bridges. And the longer she fought, the weaker she became, and then she developed cancer as a punishment for not playing along like an EE should. And then Bridget died, and she asked Sam to do it, and he did. And then she kind of explains like the Big Bang was this huge fluke, and somehow a speck of matter survived to make this world of imbalance, and the universe was seemingly trying to return them to where they came from. And the big five were the universe's way to kind of finish them off, but life found a way every time. And that was an ad lib on my part. She did not say that. I wish she did, though. And then she was like, look, she started to think that extinction was coming, and then and she said maybe extinction was a way to prevent annihilation, and that extinction is an opportunity. And then you do another get up, credits run, and then she comes back and she says, look, I pulled the trigger twice that day. What day? Which we'll find out about that day later. And then she found Sam's beach as a baby, and kind of picks up this little gray baby Sam, and said that she wanted to set him free from the Death Stranding once for all, but in doing so, she upset the balance between life and death. And in that moment, she kind of turned him into a patriot and started spreading dooms. So we're to presume here that dooms started spreading because of Sam and what Bridget, or what Amelie or Bridget or this EE did in that moment. And after that, the Death Stranding occurred after this whole thing happened. And she said it was her duty to either watch the events unfold or hasten the extinction. And she chose to end it quickly, but to trigger it, she needed Sam there too, because he was a part of her. But now that he's here, there is another choice, and that he can cut her off. And EE doesn't have that option, but that she saw a future he chose where extinction is a weapon against annihilation. And so I was, around this point, like, this is all really good information, but around this point, I was kind of starting to realize that a lot of this was stuff that she had said already, like, on the beach earlier. And so I was just like, all right, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. This is like all of the mystery being taken away.
Mm-hmm. They're just like, they're taking the mask off the Scooby-Doo villain and just saying, here you go. But like, I don't know, but like, and it was all stuff that was like inferred and implied, I thought, successfully earlier, like before, before around the time of the hug. And so they're just like, okay, we're just gonna paint this out for you. And so I think this also ties back into a conversation we had a couple weeks ago, where it was just like, I don't appreciate, like we said, we don't appreciate like being like spoon-fed, baby-fed information, but at the same time, like, you have to strike a balance. And so what you did something effectively already, just leave it at that, you know?
Sure.
I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, so after these, after this one, there's there's some more credits, and then Sam kind of remembers Amelie's words about the gun and aims it at his head, and then a gunshot rings out, and the Death Stranding logo appears and prompts you to reconnect with the living. And I noticed here, did Hideo Kojima really do the fake out gunshot to the head thing again?
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
I saw that and I was like, I texted Zach about this. Like, I can't believe he did that again. Interesting.
Well, let's not forget that second fucking full credit sequence at that point.
Well, yeah, so after this all happened, like, another credit sequence, like, scrolls, and then that happens. So you're on credit sequence number 2 at this point. So that's fun. What else happens here? So you reconnect with or you click reconnect with the living, and you hear this clicking, the gun, and then you hear Amelie's voice again tell Sam that he was never abandoned, that he's not alone, and that he has to live. And then in the distance, you kind of see those 5 figures in the air that you've been seeing throughout the game, and you kind of run towards him and towards them, and these BT spikes are kind of leading you in the direction of the figures in the air, and you start hearing your team back in Capital Knot kind of calling for you and trying to find you to get you back. And maybe I read too much into this, or what. Am I to be believed that the 5 figures have always been like the team?
I kind of thought that myself.
Yeah.
So the 5 figures, to me, they represent the 5 previous extinctions. Those are all the BT or the E's for each of those extinction events. Right, and Amelie she is the sixth figure.
So what I'm saying though is I think that was our presumption from the beginning, but what I'm saying is like this team. So you've got Lochna, you've got Deadman, you've got Heartman, you've got Fragile, and then am I missing someone?
Presumably Die-Hardman.
Die-Hardman, right? These 5 figures that are like supposed to be supporting Sam here. Mm-hmm. And the whole point of this is that you're running towards the 5 figures floating in the sky, and these people have been scanning beaches looking for you desperately. And like, could that have like a dual meaning?
I think there's definitely a dual meaning here for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe I'm reading too far into it, but I think it makes a lot of sense that that's what it was, because there's 5 of them, and they're looking for Sam, and it's just been this whole like thing, and they've been like looking over Sam basically this entire game, and who's to say that it wasn't them like looking for him on the beaches this entire time?
I will say this, like I said in the last episode, if you hit the call button here, you get unique dialogue again. And the only reason I hit it was because I got unique dialogue in that last boss fight. Mm-hmm. If you start hitting the call button here, Sam starts calling for Amelie.
Oh.
He's like yelling. He's like, no, Amelie, God damn it, where are you? And he's like, he's yelling out for Amelie, literally, but like for anyone. At one point, he's like, can anyone hear me? It's just different than can anyone hear me, like when he is in the actual waking world.
Yeah. That's interesting. Huh.
Little tidbit I found.
Little tidbit. I like that.
Yeah.
Look at you playing the game.
Look at you doing the things and using the functions.
Look at me doing my job.
Wow. I wasn't going to go that far. Call us out, why don't you?
Are you getting paid for this?
What? No.
Awkward. So, Sam.
Let's just breeze right on past that.
Yeah, let's just go. Breeze right on past it. Sam, eventually you get to the water and a cutscene happens and you see Amelie there in white. And she tells him not to give up because he's still connected. And then she points up at the figures. And then someone reaches up out of the water and says, gotcha, which scared me, and drags him down into the seam. And you see that it's Deadman and he's holding Lou and like grabbing onto Sam's ankle. And then Sam repatriates, and then it shows the baby, but inside of him Lou is gray, which may not be a good sign. And that ends episode 13. Boys, are you ready to move on to the final chapter of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a good visual reference for the 4 of us, if we were in the world of Death Stranding at this point, would be me lying face down, not because of exhaustion, but because I don't want to go anymore. With Sam and Cole trying to drag me along, while Chris is about 20 feet ahead, both hands on his backpack straps, just charging forward.
Probably building a road of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's definitely building a road.
No, see what your presumption is that we'd be dragging you along. We just fucking plop you on a floating carrier.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was an option.
Yeah. So we're not having any difficulty pulling you along back. It's fine.
Sitting there.
And the entire time I would be spraying you with repair spray.
not just him, specifically him, not a box, him.
No, just Zach.
In the eyes, probably.
In the eyes, yes.
It's okay, I'll throw on my stupid looking Luden sunglasses.
Oh God.
You had a mouth too.
Oh God.
I'll have to open it.
Okay.
I'll give you some more lines.
See the sunset, the day is ending. Let that young out. There's no pretending.
right, so here's what I'll say. Of course, so what you've just heard, episode 13, a little divisive. We got a little tension going on in the little podcast of the basket.
Look at that. We had a debate in a conversational podcast. What are the odds?
What I kind of loved about that is we're usually pretty aligned with most stuff. But that got a little heated, and
You're a little dicey, didn't it?
But you know what? Kings stick together. Kings
You're damn right we do.
Kings love and respect one another. All y'all kings.
You king, you shining.
Shining like a fucking diamond, kings.
Absolutely.
What I think, and I've talked to Zach about this, so I know he's on board here, so I will speak for him, is that where maybe we disagreed on like how good or whatever episode 13 was, I think we can all agree that episode 14, the final chapter of the game, is Chef's Kiss.
Ooh, it's so good.
Oh no, I couldn't disagree with you more, Sam.
Oh, okay. Tell me about it.
Oh, I didn't think we were actually going to follow up on that. Yeah, no, chapter 14.
He just wants to be divisive, Bubby.
That's why you can't just say shit, Bubby.
Wait,
you have to be ready to defend your opinions, Bubby.
You mean I need facts to back what I'm saying?
You sure do.
The modern media has been lying to me for years.
I think we should all take a moment and go around and say how many times we cried during this episode.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
I'll start.
Go
I
ahead.
think it was at least like a dozen.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. This is gut-wrenching stuff.
There's a lot
Oh
of
my
gut-wrenching
God.
stuff in here.
If there's ever like a Metal Gear Solid 2 document kind of thing, where the mocap scenes,
Oh, my God.
if
Yeah.
I could watch some of these, like the actors together.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What I'm going to say here, and we'll get into this a little bit later. This chapter has, I think, one of the best, not only performances, but like performance captures I've seen in a video game in a long time, maybe ever.
Oh, no, 100% agree.
So good.
Yeah.
But we will get there. And so, we're in episode 14. We'll figure out what it's called here in just a second, as we've been doing. But you find yourself in the Oval Office, and I say that like that because it's in quotes. Is it the Oval Office? Is it a hologram? Who knows? But you're in the Oval Office, and Die-Hardman is giving a speech, and he says we can now that they can move on as a people united, that the Chiral Network is complete, and that they came together to form the UCA, the birth of a new nation. And we find out that Die-Hardman is officially now the president. So he's taken the presidency, and he says that there's no more walls or between us or masks to hide who we are. And he takes his mask off and puts it down. And he says that this new America will be one where they can face one another with open hearts. And he says that the old ways may die hard, but all things must come to an end. Which I kind of love. I kind of love it. Like it's corny, right? But I kind of love
That one,
Yeah.
that one was I can award that one. That one was well done.
Yeah. And then so they're kind of keeping up this fiction a little bit, because he says that Bridget and her daughter Samantha sacrificed everything in the hope that their people might be whole again, and that they find comfort in the knowledge that their memory will live on in the Chiral Network and in their hearts, and they'll always be connected. And then he starts saying, and there's one other person that we need to recognize, and he doesn't call him out by name, but as he starts to speak, Sam kind of like starts to walk away, and he says that it was this person who brought them together, and just kind of like is giving what we presume is Sam. Like he has to be talking about Sam. He
has to be.
And Sam walks out of the room, and Deadman follows him and asks if he's tired of being the unsung hero.
Just in case you weren't sure they were talking about Sam.
Sure. And Sam says, "No, I'm just done," and she's gone. And then Deadman kind of grabs him as he's walking away, and Sam doesn't pull away. And Deadman's like, I didn't mean to do that, but
Oh, look at that. It's infected you, Bubby.
It has. But he realizes like, oh, that doesn't bother you anymore. And Sam kind of like shrugs. And Dead Man kind of tells him, like, we tried to use Bridget's umbilical cord to pull you from the beach. But she had already cut her beach loose. So Hartman and Mama looked for a full month to find him, and says that, and tell Sam that he doesn't want to know how long he was on the inside in like beach time. And what they realized was that it was the gun that led them to him, and that they were able to work as a team to rescue him. And the umbilical cord, what they did with the umbilical cord was they turned it into several quipus they used to send them to the beaches. And then the gun was a stick that became a rope. So they used the gun to pull him back from the brink. And Dead Man hugs Sam and then kind of tells him a little secret. And that says that Cliff's common law wife was actually named Lisa Bridges. And that Cliff was killed by John, who was a special forces guy that eventually was tasked to do the president's wet work. And that the records would show that he vanished after Cliff's death and that he was eventually found dead. And so we know that John is Die-Hardman, so we know that he's not dead. And Dead Man says that if he's curious, he could go take a look at the archives if he wants to, and that he doesn't trust Die-Hardman. But that the president has some dirty laundry there in the archives. And as Dead Man walks away, Die-Hardman kind of walks up, and this is what I'm talking about here. This scene is impeccable, right?
Yes.
So,
oh my God.
Die-Hardman walks up and he says that he doesn't expect Sam to be forgiven, but he says, look, I don't expect you to forgive me. Hear me out. And he admits there to killing Cliff, and that he says he did it for Bridget because he loved her with all his heart, and that she was everything to her, or she was everything to him. And he's not trying to make excuses, but he thinks about it every day. And that time and the masks didn't help. And Sam's trying to walk away, and then he kind of begs Sam to let him finish. And he says, Cliff saved my life, and they call me Die-Hardman because Cliff would not let me die. And that he loved Cliff as much as he loved Bridget. And then he starts sobbing, and he kind of collapses to the ground, and he's just like sobbing about how, like, when Cliff's ghost stared him down, he knew he was there to kill him and make it right. And then and Die-Hardman was like, yeah, you should kill me for this. And then kind of questions why he didn't, and that Cliff couldn't save his BB, and that's what brought him back in the first place. And then he said that he thinks what happened was Cliff saw him trying to do his part for America, remembered who he was, and forgave him in that moment. And then he's still crying, and he says that he doesn't deserve it, and that there's no atoning for what he's done. He's continuing crying at this point. And so this is what I'm talking about here. So Tommy Earl Jenkins, fucking God.
Impeccable.
So
absolutely
good.
Impeccable.
First of all. Second of all, the facial capture on this was just
so good.
Because it was so like good and articulated, but my favorite thing about it was that it didn't invoke Uncanny Valley for me. Like, it didn't make me feel uncomfortable. It just looked great.
Yeah, no, it was just fantastic. It was just really, really just well done.
Mm-hmm.
This reinforced my desire to make a full-length movie in this, like, hyper-realistic animation style. Minus if there are any children, because they look like potatoes.
Yeah. Well, let's hope the Decima engine can figure it out by the time.
Well, I'd either use them or I'd use whatever they use to make the cutscenes in the new Call of Duty.
Oh, the cutscenes in the new Call of Duty are
gorgeous.
Just like, it's insane how good those look. But yeah, so this whole like I feel like I'm not giving this speech justice. Like,
I don't think you can without just showing it. Like, that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you okay, so if you're here and you played it, you saw it, and you know what I'm talking about. And if you disagree with the notion that this is not like such a great performance, then you need to get out of here.
First off, you need to get a soul.
For real.
So to answer Chris's question, I didn't cry at all during this game, but there were a few points where I felt emotional, and this was one of them.
Mm-hmm. So this was great. Like, so if you've played it, you know it. If you haven't played it and you're just listening because you're not sure if you're going to play it and you just kind of want to know what everything's about, you at least owe it to yourself to go on to like YouTube or something and look this scene up, because it is such a powerful like monologue. It's such a powerful capture. Like, it's so heavy, and you need to, like, if you're here and you haven't played it and you're just like, I just want to listen to people talk about it, look up this scene because it's so good. But yeah, so after he says all of this, Sam kind of helps him up off the floor, and Die-Hardman says, maybe Cliff brought me back from the beach for a reason, one last time, and he wanted Die-Hardman to kind of do this and keep on being Die-Hardman. And Sam said that he didn't want that, and that no one wants a president who acts like they're immortal. And Sam goes, if you're not scared of death, how can you value life? And that life is pretty fragile right now. And Sam kind of like repeats what he said in the Oval Office. He says, look, the old ways die hard, but that's what has to happen if we're going to come together and rebuild America. And Sam gives Die-Hardman the gun. And I this is unrelated, but in my notes, every time I typed the word gun, it autocorrected it to fun. So I don't know what that says about me or my phone. That's a very strange. Anyway, so Sam gives Die-Hardman the gun and says, the gun won't help you here. And said those were her words and not his. And then he kind of walks away. And Die-Hardman thanks Sam, and the scene cuts to black. And it cuts over to Deadman and Sam, and Deadman has Lou, and it turns out that Lou died while Sam was in the beach, and that the decommissioning order came through, and that they can't risk necrosis. And this is where I kind of started getting like really. This is where I got misty eyed. Mm-hmm. Now I did actually cry once during this point, and I'll tell you when it was when we get to it. But like I did start like crying a little bit, but like this is where I started like to feel it, you know. But yeah, they can't risk necrosis, and Deadman says that he might want to take care of it and suggests that Sam could take Lou out of the pod, but that it would go against an executive order from the president, and that there are laws about that now that they're a nation. And Deadman hugs Lou.
Hold up a minute.
What's up?
When did these laws happen? Who are the elected representatives? And what is the constitutional basis for this? Like, I don't... This sounds like a bunch of tyranny.
Bunch of hootenanny, I tell you what.
Chris Hampton, attorney at law.
It is a little bit of a hoot, like a little bit of like why the fuck not? Like, why can't you just let do that?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, there's no reason why they need to be keeping the BBs in the pods at this point. Like, there's no reason for it. But I guess these are rules now, and they can't break them because of the laws. So now that they're a nation,
Somebody's gonna be a dick about it.
yeah. Well, you got to be a dick about it, though. Yeah. So Deadman hugs Lou, and says that he couldn't bring himself to do it. But that if the alternative is defying the president, he can't do that either. And so Sam actually agrees to take Lou to the incinerator. And what Deadman does is he takes Sam's cufflinks offline and says that if he took them off, the UCA couldn't track him. And that if he goes and he uses the incinerator like he's supposed to, he'll be connected automatically, and that he trusts that Sam will remember what he said. And I fucking loved this. Sam goes to walk away, and he kind of like comes back and he hugs Deadman and thanks him for everything, and it made me like really happy.
Oh yeah,
This was wholesome.
It was so wholesome.
I teared up.
it was really nice.
Yeah.
And I feel like Deadman as a character was completed here.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
like,
Yes, for sure.
He was like the Tin Man who wanted the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and he got the heart.
Yeah, like that was his arc. Like his arc went over. Because he started off as this like guy who was skeptical, and he didn't think BBs were anything more than tools and all this other stuff. And then you kind of learn about him, and you find out like, I've never had friends. I've never been this. I'm this like Frankenstein. I've never felt connections before. And then it kind of comes full circle with Sam finding like, okay, look, we're friends. Like, this is us now. And I really love that. And I think like that moment was exactly like the moral of like the connections and like the Strand story. You know what I mean? Like, we're making these connections over time, you know? So he hugs Deadman, and then he goes outside and he sees Fragile standing there, and he asks how the weather is, and she says that he won't need an umbrella this time, and tells him that she decided to follow her father's dream after all. And that Fragile Express is the first private delivery company to get official approval from the UCA, which is pretty cool. And she tells Sam that she couldn't shoot Higgs on the beach, so she let him choose death or solitude. And you're like, whoa, so Higgs isn't dead? Maybe. Who knows?
I believe he committed suicide. That's why you heard the gunshots.
Yeah, that's the
Oh, gotcha. That, you know what?
implication there.
I didn't make that connection until just now, but yeah, that probably is what happened.
Did Zach connect that straight for you?
Yes, he did.
God damn it.
So,
Boo!
supposedly he chose
Boo!
death. Get out of here. Sam is like, well, it makes sense because you don't like breaking things, and she says that's right. She likes to find what's broken and fix them. And another thing that I really love, she says that she's fragile, and then together they say, but not that fragile.
Fragile.
Another thing that I loved. Like that was a line.
Oh, yeah.
That was a line that was like throughout the game. I'm fragile, but not that fragile. And that was another like perfect moment. I think like this chapter is full of perfect moments. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she asks him again if you want to come work for me, but he says that listen, I have no ties to anyone or anything, and I might as well be dead. And that he felt that way before in the cave, but Fragile's like, no, you've learned how to connect with people, and he says everything he touches, he loses. And he starts to walk away, and she kind of calls after him, and the door closes, and she starts crying because he's walked away. And this is where it started for me. Like when I started to lose it, Sam pulls Lou off of his chest and says they're going on one last delivery, and then you see the title. Episode 14, Lou, is what this episode is called. And I'm like starting to like feel it now thinking about it, because that was such like, we're going on one last adventure, and like I started like the water started coming, man. Like I couldn't. But yeah, so you can't use the map, but it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to the incinerator, and it's a pretty straightforward trip. Did anybody have any trouble like figuring out where to go here, or without the map, or?
No.
It's kind of a nice little bookend. You're taking the same trip that you took at the beginning of the game,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but it's a lot less dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier, and you feel like, because it is easier, like you've grown,
Mm-hmm.
like you've leveled up.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is it's sunny. There's no rain. There's no enemies. There's no BTs. There's nothing except for you in this trip. And BB's theme is playing while you're taking this trip. And it was too much. It was so much like emotion, and like it was just powerful. Like this whole trip was powerful, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I teared up.
At this point, how is everybody feeling, like, emotionally? Are you okay? Do you need a hug? Do you need help?
I mean, like, when, like, Low Roar kicked in, I was like, oh, fuck. I mean, it's
Well, it wasn't Low Roar. It was BB's theme. It was the BB's theme.
Oh, yeah, it was BB's theme, but, like, I just...
Because, like, the official version of BB's theme, like, after a certain point, like, this music, like, swells, and it's just, like... It's so weird because it's triumphant. Like, it feels triumphant at the same time as feeling like this. And it's like Low Roar, too. It's like, there's always, like, whenever music plays in this game, like, you feel triumphant because you've done something, you're getting somewhere. But, like, there's a sense of, like, melancholy behind it. It's the same thing with this. It's just, like, the music swells. And in any other situation, like, you would be like, oh, yeah, hell yeah, I feel I did this. But, like, now you're just like, yeah, I did this, but, like, at what cost? Like, what's happening now? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I got misty eyed whenever I was like taking him to the incinerator, for sure.
So yeah, so you get to the incinerator, and you kind of approach. You don't go in yet, but you approach, and Sam kind of looks at Lou and asks if Lou's still with him, and Lou's just not moving at this point. And Sam thanks him for everything, and thanks Lou for everything, and kind of connects to the pod. And you get one more flashback, and you see Bridget talking to John about Lou being a BB candidate. And Bridget says that BB could be a foundation or a bridge, and it cuts to Cliff bringing BB the Ludens astronaut, and says that the second this is all over, he's gonna take BB wherever he wants to go, and he kind of whistles the song, the BB's theme song. And then what happens which is really cool, is that we start seeing all of these Cliff flashbacks played out with not only extra context behind them, but like in real time without that like lens of being seen through Vivi's eyes. So we're actually seeing these events as they happen now. You get to the scene. So what I mentioned is there was a scene that I got where Cliff is arguing with a woman, saying all he hears is a woman in a mask that's lying to him. And it was actually, he was talking to Bridget. And you get the rest of this part where Bridget's talking to Cliff about like saying that like lies are a necessity and all that stuff. And then you get to the point where John resets the security system and tells like to help them get out. And so he starts explaining what he has to do. He gives them 5 minutes to talk off the record before telling him to like he needs to get BB out. He says, look, after you saved me, I thought that I was some kind of action hero, but that you're really the hero, and it's past time that I paid that debt, is what John said. And so John tells Cliff they're moving BB to be the foundation of the chiral network that's coming up, and that he wrote down everything that Cliff needed to know, and says when he's done, you need to burn it. And he gives Cliff the gun, like this gun, and says that he can't terminate Lisa's life support from inside the room, so this is the only option, and says that he rigged the room to spoof her vitals, but he'll only have 5 minutes to do it. And says, look, you can't hesitate here because it's the only chance that you're going to get. And John kind of leaves, and Cliff is like, and this is just, it's so heartbreaking because, you know, you can feel this love that he has for Lisa, right? Cliff. And so he's like slowly going around and like grabbing towels and pillows and stuff like that. And
a woman who just to really hammer this home, you never meet Lisa.
Mm-mm.
So you only see this relationship from basically one side, but you can still just see and feel the amount of love that this guy has for this woman that, as players, we never meet.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I think is funny about this too is that like as I started playing the game, I was a little worried, right, that what we got of Cliff wouldn't be enough to make like me care about his story, because it was all very like fleeting and like snippets, right?
I felt the
like,
same way. Like there was no character I wanted more to have like an actual payoff than Cliff.
Yeah, but I think looking back at it, and you can tell me if you guys agree or not, I think they gave us exactly the right amount of Cliff in this game.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he's gathering all these like things as he's trying to like muffle this gunshot because he has to like kill his wife. He apologizes to her and said he's going to take care of BB, and he gives her like one last kiss and then pulls the trigger, and then he begins his escape, and it cuts back to Sam, and he's inside of the incinerator now, and he hears Dead Man's words, and he pulls off his cuff and puts them on the slab, and he puts Lou on the slab too, and the table starts to lower, and then the order ends, like your delivery's over, and you get the clear screen. And then after the clear screen, Sam like yanks BB off of the slab at the last minute and remembers Dead Man's words again about from episode 6 this time about like the catastrophic failure and the 70% thing. And then he hooks up to Lou one more time, and then you're in the seam, but you're in first person, but you're in Lisa's hospital room, and you kind of you find Cliff, and you have to repatriate with Lou in this instance, or this whole thing that's happening, and you follow him down, and Cliff is like in the hallway. You repatriate with Lou, and you continue following his escape, and this is after, so Cliff has been like trying to escape, and he gets tagged essentially, and he's hiding around this corner, and John approaches him and apologizes and says, look, I'm going to handle this, and he tells the men to hold their fire, and then Cliff gets up and uses John as a human shield, and he tries to tell these like riot security guards to stop, and they threaten him, but John says that it's a dead end, and security will handle it after he like ditches John and runs down the hallway. And these riot guys are fucking intense. Like they're ready to kill John to give to Cliff.
Oh yeah. This is like a murder battalion or something.
Yeah, they're like.
Oh yeah, it's a death
bloodthirsty.
squad.
Because you have the security guys, the regular security guys, and you have these riot guys that are like after Cliff, and they're like probably on orders from Bridget. And John's like, "Look, fucking calm down. We're gonna get him. Stop." And they finally like ease up.
Their design is really neat too.
They are really cool.
Not nearly
Design
as
is
cool
really
as
They kind of remind me of like Ludens almost.
Yeah, a little bit.
not nearly as cool as
Yeah.
as Cliff's skeleton soldiers, but still pretty neat.
So what winds up happening is you find yourself back in Lisa's room, and Cliff is kind of like gone back circle, and he locks the door and fries the security panel, and Sam is kind of witnessing Cliff's final moments here, and the soldiers bust into the room, and Sam is like freaking out and trying to stop them, but they face through him and they shoot Cliff. And then this is that speech from earlier that we saw in the flashback that like, and it got me again because like I said, very strong relationship with my dad, and it's such like a powerful speech. He talks about being a father again and how he was scared and how he needed to stop going off and dying and he needed to be there. John kind of helps Cliff up a little bit, and the soldiers grab the pod and hand it to Bridget, and she realizes BB is not in the pod, and you see that Cliff has removed BB from the pod at some point in this process, and Bridget is freaking out about this, and we see Bridget give the order to John to shoot Cliff, and the scene freezes, and Cliff is now talking to Sam. And you get a little bit more context here. He says they told him his name was Sam Porter, but that he is Sam Bridges. And if you remember what Deadman said earlier, Lisa's last name is Bridges. And so we find out that Sam is Cliff's son. And so this BB that we've presumed has been Lou this entire game was not Lou, but in fact was Sam. So he says, "You're my son, and you're my bridge to the future. And without him, he's just like any other Cliff. He's a dead end with no way forward and nothing but an obstacle looking at the world people like him were trying to build. And that dividing people was the only thing that he was ever good at." And Cliff uses Sam to stand up, and he tells Sam that he's the bridge to everyone's future, and says, he tells Sam to stand up again because Cliff is like, he's like kneeling again. So he stands up, hands him his baby self, and then Sam asks Cliff, "Is this me?" And Cliff gives Sam his dog tags again, and they hug. And the scene resumes, and you see that Bridget was actually the one that pulled the trigger. She grabbed John's hand and pulled the trigger. And in this moment, she has also killed Sam, and Bridget is like wailing. She's
freaking out.
Yeah. But
well, I will say, like when he flopped over and then his arm fell over and baby Sam's body hit the ground, I was like, like it got me.
I couldn't, it was just so like visceral and like not okay.
No, not at all. Like it was real bad.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Bridget is like wailing and gnashing of teeth and freaking the fuck out. But you see this, you realize, oh, Sam's a repatriate because Amelie found him and sent him
Picks
back.
him up.
Yep, picks him up, sends him back. And when she picks him up, dude, Sam, baby, like infant Sam has a gnarly fucking hole. Like they spared
It's
nothing.
rough, dude. They spared no like design.
Yeah, like
super grisly.
Oh god, yeah. So,
but it's at this point that we get to see his like scar, like the origins of it.
Mm-hmm.
Also
Cliff, and that's why they both have that same scar. Yeah, because they got shot together. Which, yeah.
So this is the shot in his throat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you see the doll.
Mm-hmm. See the doll. And in the seam, you see kind of Cliff's body float past you, and then you see Sam on the beach. So this is all Sam finding him. We did forget to mention that. So when you're in the scene when Amelie, like before Amelie finds you, Cliff's body is like in there with you as well. Yeah. So as Amelie's putting him back in the water, she asks if he wants to go home and sends him back. And then you can see in the distance, Cliff is in the water, like off in the distance, and he kind of like walks away as Amelie lowers him into the water, and then Sam kind of drifts past his like Luden's keychain and kind of he starts to float through space. It's wild.
I didn't really understand the scene, if I'm being honest.
Super weird, but you know, sometimes weird is okay. And then you see this bright light, and then Sam wakes up and he's in the pod and he's staring at John, and Bridget kind of approaches and welcomes him back, and John says that now his connection to the other side has been severed. His days as a BB are over, and she kind of acknowledges this and asks John if a deathless repatriate should be decommissioned, and says, in a manner of speaking, she says John asks if a deathless repatriate should be decommissioned. I'm sorry, and says, in a manner of speaking, and tells John to take him out of the pod and that she's going to raise him as her own. And then you go back to the present, and you see the incinerator burning the cuffs, and you see that Sam has removed Lou from the pod. And here's another spot that I started like tearing up and like not being okay. Sam is kind of begging, like he's begging for Lou to wake up, and he's like trying to give, like rubbing his chest and like rubbing the chest and like giving CPR and like trying.
Yeah, this one
and it's
this
just
one,
ineffective.
Just
and a BT tether starts to form, and like I'm fucking not okay.
Having been in a trauma room and having seen it work and not work with people trying to revive babies, this scene was rough for me to see.
Mm-hmm. Like it was so much, and it was just one of those things where it's just like, this is just like after everything, like this is how it's gonna be.
This is how it's gonna end up,
yeah.
Really? Yeah.
And like his efforts are like not effective, and Sam just hugs Lou, and Lou starts to cry, and Sam pulls back. And you see Lou's holding a Kipu, and Sam hugs him again, and there's a bunch of baby BTs like around them when they hug again. And they walk out, and he walks out, and it's raining, and they walk out into the rain, and they're both uncovered. And they look out at the distance, and the rain stops, and they see a rainbow. And then you see the third and final credits of the game. And you watch them while you think about what has just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And after the credits roll, you see Sam's hand, and it's sitting on top of that family photo of him and Bridget and his wife. Sam moves his hand, and Lou reaches out and grabs his hand. And Sam says Lou, and then a brief pause, and then says Louise. It's short for Louise. It's a baby girl.
It's a little girl.
I felt that part was a little phoned in, but
No. It was cute.
I liked it.
Yeah. And that's the end of Death Stranding. That was the end of it. We get our clear screens. I think it took me, so looking at my photograph that I took here, 47 hours, 17 minutes, and 6 seconds it took me to beat this game. I don't know if you guys took notes of like what yours was, but
it took me 40 hours to complete.
Okay. Chris, do you remember how long it took to beat your first one?
60.
Wow. Zach, do you remember? You were like around the same as me, right?
45 or something like that.
45. My favorite thing is that they give you this overall Porter grade for the game, and all of the things that they give you, like, okay, how much blood was transfused into Sam? How many cryptobytes did you eat? How long have you rested for? Like, types of items you fabricated. My favorite one is tumbles taken. I got 7. I got 7 tumbles taken.
Am I the only one that kind of missed the like old school like Metal Gear like rating here?
Yeah, I think
I was hoping that I would get like, I don't know, like camel or something like that. You know, like general like work animal.
Yeah.
Something, you know. But no, you don't get that here.
But yeah, so that's kind of it. After you go through this clear screen, you get a title card for episode 15. Tomorrow is in your hands. We'll talk about that next week. No, I'm kidding. And you wake up 2 weeks earlier in your room, and Deadman tells you that your vitals have stabilized, and you realize this kind of takes place right after Sam has gotten back from the beach, but before the inauguration of Die-Hardman. And episode 15 is basically you being able to explore the world and just check it out and do deliveries and just do whatever you want without like the burden of having to like do a thing specifically. So that's your kind of end game. And speaking of end game, friends,
Here we are.
We beat Death Stranding. How is it?
We beat Death Stranding.
How's everybody feel? Cole, how do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah,
it was a fantastic game. There were definitely mechanical issues that I wasn't a fan of. There were definitely parts that I had my complaints about, but overall this was worth it, and I'm really happy that I could say that honestly, having waited for this game for as long as I have, and so I've enjoyed every bit of it.
And Zach, how are you feeling?
I'm glad I played it. I will say for the parts that I didn't like, it was he more than made up for it with the parts that I did like. Because I still stand firmly by my stance of when the game is bad, it's bad, but when the game is good, it's really fucking good. So overall, I'm really glad that I played it. I'm glad that I got to experience the story, especially like Cole said, after 3.5 years of hype, from that first trailer of what the fuck am I looking at to finally seeing how it all came together. I'm happy. I'm happy I got to do it, and I'm happy that I got to cover it on the show with you guys and sort of have all the discussions and the like.
Yeah. And such. Chris, how are you feeling?
Death Stranding is the most special video game ever made.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think there's ever been a game like this before.
All right.
And it's so nice to see Kojima get the flex outside of having to do like one franchise.
But he's not trapped. He feels like he's not trapped anymore.
Yeah, he's not trapped anymore. He is free.
If only they'd held him in captivity to actually finish Metal Gear 5.
And me myself, I feel very positively, I think, overall about this video game. I think that the story, like the characters, I think is some of the best work Kojima's done. I still think episode 9 like might be one of my favorite things he's ever done. I think episode 14 was phenomenal. I think I had a lot of fun playing it. I eventually landed on fun, I think, and that's a good thing. I think it was definitely it was a worthwhile experience, is what I'll say. And I think we're very averse historically. We've been very averse to like giving like number ratings, so we won't do that. I'm just gonna give it like a fucking let's see, the longest road out of dumb looking truck. How's that? That's my rating.
I will give it a gold mask out of a metaphor. Personally,
I give it 2 fully loaded floating carriers tumbling down the side of a mountain.
Out of what?
Out of yeeting myself down a mountain on a long range bike.
Chris?
On a scale of book publishers, from Houghton Mifflin to Penguin Classics, I'm going to rate Death Stranding as a vintage master.
Oh.
Wow.
Publish my book.
Oh my god. So wow. All right. Yeah,
Just gonna breeze on past that.
that's it for the story of Death Stranding. So so as we said at the top of the episode, we're going to be coming back in January after our kind of like our holiday hiatus, to kind of talk more about Death Stranding. So we're going to do some post-mortem stuff. We're going to get deeper into like some of the lore, like the emails, the interviews. We're going to get into some more stuff, theories about like what did we think versus what we got and how those played together, things of that nature. I also think we want to do an episode where we kind of discuss how we feel about this compared to like Metal Gear Solid 5 as an example. And so we've got a lot of Death Stranding still to come. We're going to dive into more, but as far as the story goes, we've tied a nice little bow on it, and I think we all have found Death Stranding to be a positive experience.
I think that it's really brought us all together as a group of friends. Really tied the knot on those of us who were stranded.
I quit the podcast. No. So to that effect, I guess we'll do the wrap up thoughts. Unless you guys have any other final words you'd like to say.
I do.
Okay.
So
what do you
remember
got?
last episode how we were talking about getting someone to? Oops, sorry, just kicked my desk. Getting someone to do a commission of the four of us in the Kojima style.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have reached out to. He goes by his handle is the End of Time. It's at TEOFT tweets on Twitter. He does really good renditions of drawings in the Kojima style, and he's actually done them in both Metal Gear and Death Stranding style. Not Kojima, Shinkawa, sorry. But I reached out to him, and he was still taking commissions, so I actually, during the episode, I finally found a selfie that I was okay with, and I sent him in all of our reference pictures. So hopefully,
hey,
hopefully
I would also like to give a shout out here. We got an email from Sean. I don't know if he would like me to read his full name, but his name is Sean, who has graciously also decided to give it a go and see what we got. So I'm also going to send him some reference photos, and we're gonna get a couple of versions for little drawings for us. So I'm very excited to see what these guys come up with.
Yeah, no, it's
super cool.
I'm super excited to see what they come up with. And it was funny. I mean, this guy, he even in his response email, he goes, "Do you want it to be fully in the style, or do you want to keep your facial structures like kind of unique to you?" And I told him go for broke with the Shinkawa style.
Absolutely. So super. Thanks to those folks for like acquiescing this very weird request that we said a couple episodes ago. So that's super cool of you guys to do for us. That's that thing. Like I said, so next week again, we're going to be talking your thoughts on the game. So please send your emails into contact@metalgearmondays.com by end of day December 15th. We're going to read your thoughts on the air. We're going to do our gift exchange. It's going to be super cool. And then again, like I said, the week after that, we've got like a super cool surprise for you episode planned for you. So stay tuned for those two things. And yeah, you can find us on the internet at metalgearmondays.com. That is where all of our cool stuff is. You can find links to our social media there, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to get to, you'll find it there. You can also go to patreon.com/metalgearmondays. We mentioned that at the top of the episode that we have topics that we're going to talk about as well in the Outer Op, and we get those topics from you guys. So if you go to the Patreon and kind of decide to pitch us a little money your way, you could have the opportunity to let us know what you want us to talk about. So consider doing that. It's cool. And we have a Discord that everybody talks in, and we have a special extra podcast called the Patriot Club that we do just for patrons as well. And so that's also very cool. Colt, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at I am Colt Duncan, or on Instagram at Subterranean Homesick Brews, and on PSN also at I am Colt Duncan.
Zach, where can they find you on the internet?
Find me on Twitter at author Zach James. I could really use some more followers. I'm up to a whopping 3, I tell you what. I'm also on Instagram on the same name, at author Zach James. You can find me on PlayStation Network under the nom de guerre of Maverick Rooster. If you do connect with me on that, just shoot me a message when you send me a request. Just be like, "Hey, MGM" or whatever, and then I'll gladly add you. And if you want to hook up on the superior of the consoles, Xbox, you can find me at Perso non grata. Basically, persona non grata. Just drop the first A.
All right. Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Chris Hampton II, Chris Hampton II, and on the Xbox and the PlayStation as Proto Dude. And hit me up on LinkedIn. Why not?
And then you can find me on the internet on Twitter at Sanjul. That's SANJUUL. You can also find me on YouTube at bit.ly/SamDoesAthing. And you can find me on the PlayStation Network at Deadpool Alpha. So check all of those things out. And boys, I'm ready to fucking load the car and write the note and grab our bags and grab our coat and get out of here. So
Let's go for cigarettes.
Okay, here's the thing.
Yep.
I don't want that Avett Brothers reference to not go unnoticed.
Okay.
And I want you to know I love you.
Okay, I love you too. Thank you. I appreciate you. I don't. How?
Oh my god, is this like the end?
Oh my god.
God, are you trying to like wrap up the podcast?
Oh my god.
Or, like, oh my
God.
god. It's kind of like we have like a connection or something.
Shut up, Billy!
No.
That's it.
Good night, everyone.
That's it.
I feel you and I might have like a connection. Something.
Hell yeah.
Yes,
Did you say yes, bitch?
bitch. Yeah. No, I said Mark and then I said ass bitch.
I thought you said, yas, bitch.
Yas, bitch!
Let's start off that way.
Yas.
Yas, queen.
Yas, queen, yas.
Hey.
Slay.
Welcome to Metal Gear Yas Days.
We're gonna yas all over Kojima's Maz. God, I'm tired.
What did you just say?
I think I had a slight stroke right there. That was scary.
What we're actually going to do is we're going to
Does anyone else hear
mods
toast?
over Mickelson.
Did you just say, does anyone else hear toast?
Burning toast.
Here?
No, I think you're having a stroke.
You're having a stroke. Call the
I
ambulance.
haven't been able to say the word stirk ever since my first stirk.
All right, shut up. Quiet now, all of you. Chris,
Okay,
you're
Dad.
fine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I prefer yes, Daddy. Thank you very much.
Yes, King Daddy.
Yes, King Daddy.
God, you can like count down or something. Oh my god, you just like come inside me.
Jesus Christ.
Ugh.
Anyway, all right.
All right, let's do this.
That's really what Zach does on Moonbase Alpha. He's a cam girl.
Working for tips.
Oh my god, you guys who like support me on Patreon are like seriously the best.
Like, if you want my like exclusive Snapchat,
I'm already subscribed to your OnlyFans.
$50 and you get lifetime access to my exclusive Snapchat.
And exclusive rights to be called King and Daddy.
You can subscribe to me on OnlyFans.
$8 a week, and you can be my queen for the week.
And for pennies a day, you can feed a starving child in Africa.
all right, so we're gonna start this off with
Y'all are fucking gross.
look. You ready for it? You ready for the sound mark, Sam?
Yeah.
Uh,
There it is. All right. Stop. Fucking stop.
do it.
All right.
All right,
This podcast is never getting started.
Nope.